and we're going to have a minimum $70,000 pay rate for everyone that works here.
You heard that right. Every employee at the small credit card payments company will be scaled up to a minimum annual salary of $70,000.
Why do you call it a capitalist solution?
Because I actually think that this is a winning move.
Remember the Seattle tech executive that took a pay cut and then gave everyone a minimum salary of $70K? Everyone at his company, regardless of their position, was going to make a minimum of $70K. And he got in the news for that. Well, he's the most virtue-signaling hypocrite and sociopath in the history of Seattle business. Welcome to Doomed Planet, the podcast, episode 41, Tech Villains, Dan Pay Cut Price.
And now, advertising from our sponsor.
Chopping, gouging, slicing and stabbing, looting all the stores and everybody's grabbing. Politicians and the media telling their lies. Hey everybody, you need guillotine supplies. Torches, pitchforks, guillotine supplies. You'll find it at Chop Mart. Chop Mart, 1789 Skagsport Way South, Cedro Woolley, Washington, 98284.
Dan is the CEO and founder or co-founder with his brother of Gravity Payments. It's a privately held company. Dan and his brother own 100% of the company. It's sort of a bullshit.com startup. They are a credit card processor. So you go with Gravity as your processor, take credit cards through them for your small business or whatnot, and they are going to charge you 1% or 0.1% less in fees for doing that. I'm not seeing any great innovation or anything interesting there. But again, his greatest contribution to this company was the publicity stunt of offering people 70 grand a year. And that's, the janitor is now going to make that. And this went like wildfire through the mainstream media. People not realizing, and then he takes a pay cut. He's making $1 million a year, and suddenly he's going to make $70K. And everyone thought, oh, that's brilliant. What a successful, brilliant guy. But no, he owns 75% of the company. So he has equity in the company. He doesn't need, it's like Jeff Bezos at Amazon has a paltry, salary, a token salary. It doesn't matter. He's the largest shareholder. I mean, get real, media.
At Gravity, we exist to stand with the little gal or guy who believes in the American dream and is willing to work to chase it.
Dan is from bumfuck rural Idaho, one of the most isolated and right-wing places on earth, and his parents were born-agains or religious people of some sort, and he came up with the idea for Gravity Payments while living in the big city and attending Seattle Pacific University, which is a religious school. So if you want to skip the sordid details that we're going to plunge into in this podcast, I'll just summarize Dan Price. He's a homeschooled, precocious kid raised by a right-wing family. He starts with his brother, Gravity Payments, privately held company. Along the way, his brother sues him, claiming he, as a minority shareholder, he's getting cut out of the action. He creates a publicity stunt where he claims to be paying all his employees a decent wage. Although in Seattle, I'll be honest, if you have a family or kids, $70,000 a year is not enough. I guess if you're like a 25-year-old computer geek, you could get by. And so his brother sued him. He is divorced from a woman named Christy Colon. She alleged abuse. Not only that, but in a TED Talk. So we'll get to all that. But the end result is that very recently, his employees all pledged to take a pay cut. Dan Price, you egomaniac. He's a liar. Can I say these things? Is this guy going to sue me for defamation? Am I going to ruin this guy's reputation unfairly by just reading news items about what a bad person he is. He's also very unique. He's sort of a small man. He has a dweeby, geeky voice and this fabulous hair, very long hair parted in the middle, and a mustache. And, most CEOs do not have this hairstyle. So that's part of his branding and his image, right? He's the Robin Hood of CEOs. He's giving back to his workers. And that virtue signaling goes on Twitter. I mean, he's on Twitter all the time saying wealth inequality, this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you are the biggest hypocrite in this history of Seattle business. He also reminds me of a young Richard Branson. And the parallels there, he looks like him, sort of handsome, dashing dude, although Branson is much larger of a person with a unique hairstyle. And Branson, of course, also a fraud. As you know, Virgin Airlines, that he has some interest in or helped found, begged for bailouts from the British government after the COVID thing. And it's like, what? You didn't, this giant airline didn't sock away one penny, and 30 days after they shut down, they're out of money? It's like Richard Branson's whole thing is like a house of cards. He's just this figurehead. And again, he's the master of publicity. And I'll never get over this. Our former president, Barack Obama, the one that did not put anyone from Wall Street in jail, first thing he did after leaving office was go to Richard Branson's private island as his personal guest so they could do some water skiing or whatever. So there you go. Barack Obama not even pretending. And then, he fades out of the limelight and signs a Netflix deal and a book deal. And now he's worth $100 million. He and Michelle on their way to $1 billion. And he stays low-key about politics until he comes out at the last minute to fuck over Bernie Sanders and endorse Joe Biden. So thanks, Barack. You're a great drone bomber, man. You killed so many people. I know that's the fucking job description of being president, but you're a murderer and a liar like a Clinton-esque liar who stand up and virtue signal all day long, even though you're responsible for the deaths of so many people and for enabling people like Steven Mnuchin to kick old ladies out of their houses by the tens of thousands. That's you, Barack. But again, we're talking about another villain, Seattle-based, Dan Pay Cut Price.
So I'm reducing my salary from $1 million a year to about $70,000.
Dan may have taken a pay cut at his own company, but he apparently got a book deal for $500,000. And a few years later, April 13th, 2020, wow, it came out. Worth it. How $1 million pay cut and a $70,000 minimum wage revealed a better way of doing business. And again, this is only a couple months before he starts downsizing his company to cope with COVID, and all his employees volunteer to take a pay cut. Oh, God, what?
And so we went from having a $500,000 monthly profit to a $1.5 million monthly loss over the course of a couple weeks. So we're looking at that and we're saying, if everything goes perfectly from here forward, we have 4 months. We got the entire company together on a Zoom call like this with everyone working from home, 200 people. And I said that I thought we were going to lose half of our revenue. And every single employee at Gravity said, I can work extra hours, I can do extra things to be there for our small business clients when they need us. But the other thing that was probably even more shocking was 98% of people wrote on that spreadsheet that they wanted to decrease their pay on an anonymous, voluntary basis.
The audacity of these fuckers. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got a useless company that does something that's already been done, and you're not really disrupting anything. You just want a piece of the pie. And you turn publicity stunts and a cult of personality into endless free advertising. I mean, this is the Trumpian plan here. Dan's book is number 6,846 right now on Amazon in their business professionals biographies. sales rank. Oh, and he's also number 974 in books about income inequality. Oh, the irony. God, I'm going mad. Is this really happening? Am I really seeing this? You got Thomas Piketty's Capital in the 21st Century is number 8. So some really good books at the top of this list. Books about income inequality, or, I would just say wealth inequality. Income inequality implies that we're going to let the billionaires keep all their money and not, take out the guillotines and say, all right, wealth tax fuckers, but fuck, we'll see. For the record, I made no attempt to contact Dan Price. He might have gotten back to me. He might have bought me lunch. Who knows? But this is when I published that monthly neighborhood newspaper. It wasn't really journalism. We're just writing what we feel, and fuck the person that we're talking about if they're not worthy of actually commenting. I mean, he's all over the media. I don't need to know his opinions about not just his company and his self-worth, but about just about everything, including wealth inequality. It's all over the place. I don't need to fucking call the guy. So many good reviews of his book. Oh no, there's 3 on Amazon. 2 are verified. Dale Chihuly says, what? Short-term profits, value to thriving small business. It's all hokum. An amazing book by an amazing human being. So glad to be able to support such a fantastic human in bettering the human experience and supporting others by doing the right thing. I'm recording this later in the morning than I usually do, and there might be some kid and dog noise or faucets being turned on, but Dan, you don't deserve good audio. So is Dan Price this flawless god, business genius, brilliant computer something? Well, none of us are that, but he's sort of has a dark side. If you call allegedly waterboarding his ex-wife a dark side. Christy Cologne, his ex-wife, gave a TED Talk where she claims that he punched, slapped, body slammed, and waterboarded her when they were married. He denies everything, and she went on to do a blog post about it after the TED Talk was suppressed. From Entrepreneur Magazine, Dan Price says reports he abused his ex-wife are false. By Jeff Weiss on the Dan Price Beat. That's December 2015. Dan Price, the Gravity Payments CEO who has become a national symbol of corporate good after raising his employee pay this year, is denying claims in a Bloomberg Businessweek story that he physically abused his ex-wife while they were married. Video footage where the ex-wife of Gravity Payments CEO Dan Price alleged she was abused by her former husband will not be published. According to the University of Kentucky, the video, a TEDx talk by Christy Cologne, recorded at Kentucky in October, has also been deleted by the university, and it is unclear if any copies now exist. So Dan Price, he's poison in a way. Todd Bishop did a great story for GeekWire, Internal Emails, how a Seattle startup's drama became a Kentucky university's problem. And he goes on to say that the University of Kentucky had no idea what it was getting into when it got caught up in this dispute between an alleged waterboarder and his ex-wife and some censorship controversy. That's poison for everybody. Thanks, Dan. You're charming. Karen Weiss of Bloomberg Businessweek broke the Dan Price is actually an asshole story on December 1st of 2015. That's about a year after his I'm going to give everyone a raise publicity stunt. The CEO paying everyone 70,000 salaries has something to hide inside the viral story of Gravity CEO Dan Price. We'll skip through this a little bit because there's some fun stuff here. On April 13th, with reporters from the New York Times and NBC News hovering nearby, Dan Price, the young chief executive officer of Gravity Payments,
a Seattle-based credit card processing company, told his staff he was raising their minimum salary to $70,000 a year. Some employees would see their wages double. He's paying some people $35,000 a year to work full-time in Seattle. It's not about making money. It's about making a difference, Price told the Today Show, one of 24 TV interviews he did following the announcement. Price's story rocketed around the world, a capitalist fairy tale to counter growing inequality. Price combined Brad Pitt's smolder and a boo-boo bear's aw shucks demeanor, tousled hair and dark brown eyes, to become an articulate and attractive messenger. Rush Limbaugh denounced him as a socialist.
It just doesn't make economic sense for the really large companies that have a lot of people like that to give huge raises like this. It can tip them from being profitable to being unprofitable, which is why we're not going to see a huge stampede of companies doing this.
2 employees quit, saying the increase wasn't fair to higher earners. That just shows you what a dick culture the tech business is. They don't care about anyone, even people working at the company they work for. It's like a backstabbing rat race, like everything in capitalism. So Karen does a good interview with Dan, and there's great pictures by Bloomberg photographer Nathaniel Turner. There's one here. They're on the floor planking. Is that a yoga thing where they're in a circle on their elbows and knees praying? And I see a group here of, 6 20-something females, all white, and two white dudes, and Dan.
I'm a tortilla, baby.
I can hear a kid upstairs doing dishes or something. It's like, well, whatever. It's really, no, that's God up in heaven listening to this podcast about Dan Price and going, while doing the dishes and going, who is this bastard? I can't wait for this fucker to come up here. And the Bloomberg article notes that Dan is paying himself at one point $1.1 million a year, which is a higher salary than CEOs at companies with comparable revenue would get. Wow, this is worse than that image of a young Bill Gates posing sexily next to some computers. There's a photo of Dan leaning over backwards over a exercise ball, and his hair is flowing down. It's shot with this, flash technique, and he's wearing a hoodie that says "Life's Swell." So he's a publicity whore. He claims he's been courted by TV producers, including Ryan Seacrest and Mark Burnett, who would be probably the number 1 and number 2 biggest TV producers of the era. A spokesman for Seacrest says he does not recall ever speaking with Mr. Price, and Burnett did not return phone calls. Price signed with the talent agency William Morris, and he charges $20,000 per speech. So, well, wait a minute. He's not just making $70,000 a year. He's getting $20,000 per speech and growing equity in his company that he majority owns.
You hypocrite.
I think I'm inspired to write a song about Dan Price. We'll save that for the end of the podcast. This fills me with joy, though, to go after this guy. At one point, I thought, well, at least he's not the most evil of corporate executives. It's not like Gravity Payments is Exxon, right, or something like that. And then I'm thinking, no, this is it's worse to be a virtue signaler when your message is actually fraudulent in a way. It's like, I actually prefer going after people on the left, although I wouldn't call Dan a leftist or any kind of like AK-47 toting Maoist by any stretch of the imagination. But it's good to go after the hypocrites. And it all ends badly because the end result of capitalism does that it destroys the planet. Hopefully it destroys itself first, but in the process probably destroys human life on our planet. And it's a doomed planet, people. But that's, 4 billion years from now, the sun is going to blow Earth away. In the meantime, we could fix things. Yeah, we can fix things. One way is by calling out people like Dan Price to step in the right direction. I feel like I've done my part to save the Earth.
If just one person listens to this podcast and who knows of Dan Price and reveres him and then says, what, this guy's a fucknut, then I have done my job. So his brother Lucas sues him, claiming he's getting fucked over based on whatever the insider dealings are at Gravity Payments. And then Dan Price says, into the media, he didn't like that I gave myself a pay cut. And the problem with that, as Bloomberg finds out, is that actually his brother filed the lawsuit well before Dan made his announcement about the pay raise and his own alleged pay cut. The media loves to create celebrities and indulge them and then take them down. So you have to give some credit to these journalists who are looking into Dan Price, looking beyond the publicity stunt into the man. Seattle Times, December 4th, 2015. Story paints darker picture of Seattle CEO who set minimum pay at $70K. We've already talked about the darkness. I just love and this is photo courtesy of Gravity Payments. Here he's wearing an opened blue collared shirt and he has this simpy, sinister grin, but his hairstyle in this one is like Trumpian. It's like Trump in front with a slight Trump mullet coming, a George Harrison-esque Trump mullet, side mullet on each side. It's like the guy is a douchebag.
And so if corporate America also wants to be a part of that solution, that would make me really happy.
Recently, a website called 180degrees.com did a video series about Dan Price. It's fairly amazing. They say Dan Price claims that he made major personal sacrifices so that his $70K wage hike could become a reality. And there he is on Larry King talking about that, bragging. Actually, his lifestyle remained as extravagant as ever. Here he is at a pool party, opening a bottle of champagne with a knife and smiling and mugging for the camera. That's amazing. Here he is wearing a tuxedo, partying with rich people. And he get 25 to 50K a year for working as a lecturer for William Morris. There's actually a William Morris page. Dan Price, founder and CEO of Gravity Payments. He has a multi-million-dollar house with water views in a pricey neighborhood. They show the house. Yeah, that's $2 million easily. Price said he once rented his house to make ends meet when he cut his own salary. That claim was not true. He owns 2 houses and a yacht. There's a shot of him on his yacht with a Gravity t-shirt. There he is partying with Dave Grohl, Jay-Z, Eddie Vedder, Anderson Cooper. There he is on his yacht with a bottle of vodka. He mingles with mega stars, travels the globe, and calls Seattle's richest citizens his friends. This is the humble man of the people that took a pay cut out of the goodness of his heart. And of course, there's the infamous Inc. magazine cover, Rising Stars. Is this the best boss in America? Dan Price decided to pay all 120 employees at least $70,000. Grown men cried. Profits soared. Then things got really crazy. Really? How crazy? Lies are crazy.
The 30-year-old CEO says he wants to confront income inequality in America. So he slashed his own paycheck and raised the minimum salary at his company.
Oh, Dan, this is not going to be a full hour of you. You're too stupid. So go to gravitypayments.com, and we are the most trusted name in credit card processing. Really? Not Visa and MasterCard, Bank of America? Gravity Payments? Wow. And there's a shot of a cafe. In the background, there's a sign taped to the wall, the Juice Lab. And there's 2 tech geeks. That implies that, yeah, your small business needs us. And also, run a business? See our small business COVID survival kit. Get assistance with your PPP loan, access to up to 10K with a Gravity business credit card. Really? You're going to take advantage of these small businesses that need credit? That's predatory, dude. I mean, the whole financial industry is predatory, and so is Gravity Payments.
We decided very early to close down our office and to just start having everybody work from home. And I was really proud of that.
I love mocking this guy. So you go to About Dan Price, and there's a big picture of him wearing this weird denim shirt, collarless shirt, and he's smiling like a demented chipmunk. And it says, the 70,000 CEO, bootstrapper, disruptor, Dan Price, founder and CEO, game changer, entrepreneur. And I noticed just used to be a graphic designer. The decks of type aren't lined up there. It's all fucked up, like unprofessional. It's like there's no way they could have meant to do it that way. So it's like the left and right sides are not flush, which would be easy to do in 3 seconds in Adobe InDesign or whatever, Illustrator. So, raised in rural Idaho, far from the closest neighbor, Dan Price started Gravity Payments from his university dorm room when he was just 19 years old. God, where have I heard that origin story before, if not a million times? He rolled up his sleeves and began disrupting the typical way business is done. He shaped Gravity on a different set of values not normally seen in the workplace. Honesty, transparency, and responsibility. These simple values have made Dan and the Gravity team a trusted name in credit card processing. He saves them businesses millions in fees and hours in frustration by somehow making it easy and simple for them to accept payments. It is well known that Dan is a celebrated entrepreneur. Again, this is the bio on his own website. But what sets him apart is his conviction to do what he believes is right, even if it's unpopular. His mission is to create a world where values-based companies reshape the economy. Within capitalism, I assume. Business should be about purpose, service, and making a difference. So many empty platitudes crammed into one paragraph. Total insanity. Order Dan's new book, Worth It. In this book, Dan shares the experiences and events that shaped his decision, from his conservative Christian upbringing to the rethink, innovate, all that fucking bullshit. Oh, here's a good one. So that book deal for $500,000, that was canceled. And Worth It, Dan's book, is published by the esteemed publisher Gravity Payments Incorporated. We like to review bad biographies on this podcast, but we're not going to buy this one. Just looking at the preview, we see one of the chapters is called Unlikely Rock Star. So he literally thinks that he is a rock star.
When I was in a band, there was a coffee shop that we would play at, and the owner of the coffee shop was incredible and really loved her business. She was not necessarily the best business person in terms of being financially savvy. So I helped her redo her gift and loyalty systems. I helped her get a good deal on her credit card processing. And, she actually told a bunch of her friends about me.
A lot of these CEOs, tech geek CEOs, can really shred on guitar. Like Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, the late co-founder of Microsoft, he could kill it on guitar. He's an amazing guitarist. Dan Price is calling himself a rock star, but the only rock star thing I have seen is him opening a bottle of champagne with a kitchen knife, not a sword, as a classier person might do, but a fucking kitchen knife. Wow, this book is complete madness. Apparently, the idea to give everyone a pay raise came during a hike in the Cascade Mountains with his friend Valerie. She seems to be a disadvantaged person, got pregnant at 15, 16, married the father, enlisted in the army at 18, did 2 tours of Iraq. It's like you're virtue signaling by silly puttying on what your friend did. And she is working 50 hours or more per week at Banya 5. This is a Russian-style spa in Seattle. It's literally kind of a Russian mafia vibe, okay? So this friend is complaining she makes more than 40 grand a year, but she has no room to sacrifice, and the booming, unforgiving Seattle economy kept depressing the value of her salary. Like an unsolvable Rubik's Cube, every spending cut she made led to a new set of problems. Tom says he'd long been confused by Valerie's financial struggles, making $40K, and he offered to help her review her budget. So Dan Price is not a writer, and his ghostwriter or editor that's helping him with this, they are not writers either. This is a disgrace. Mental dominoes began to fall. I remembered a study I had read by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton, which found that a person's well-being continues to increase up until they earn a salary of around $75,000 a year. At that point, people are able to cover their basic needs. Beyond that number, any extra dollar has marginally less value because it doesn't significantly improve a person's welfare. Can you imagine this guy writing this and then going on his yacht drinking vodka with all of the 28-year-old white girls that work at his company as salespeople? Okay, so his dad, the born-again guy, is actually Dan Price Sr. My dad's work ethic earned him modest success. He was an incredible presenter thanks to his acting background. He could hold your attention on any subject from the Bible to the benefits of organic juice. So I'm getting this, some homeschool people don't have their kids in public schools because they teach evolution and stuff like that. So this is Dan's dad. He gave training seminars to salespeople and continued to climb the corporate ladder. Oh, no wonder Dan is fucked up. My parents' religious convictions only grew stronger over time, and they were determined to pass this zeal down to their children. My father would wake up around 4 a.m. every weekday to pray. An hour later, my mom would wake me and my siblings by flipping on the lights in our bunk rooms. After a short period of preparation, we would begin family Bible study, with our parents supervising. The fact that I was homeschooled, coupled with the fact that we lived in a rural community, meant my only opportunity to meet kids my age was at church. We attended church on Sundays, Wednesdays, and at least one other day per week. I was always more comfortable interacting with adults than I was with kids, whose impulsivity and youthful ideas of fun I didn't understand. So he had no childhood, no fun or play with other kids, just Bible. That'll mess you up. Being in Idaho will mess you up. Idaho, you say. Well, yes, Dan has come back. According to Fast Company, the magazine for advertising executives on crack and meth, April 28th, 2020, world-changing ideas. Oh, I love that phrase, world-changing, as applied to Dan Price. Gravity Payments is expanding its $70,000 minimum wage from Seattle to Idaho. They opened a second branch of Gravity Payments in charming Boise, Idaho.
What do you say, Vance? Let's move to Boise.
Oh, if that's what you want, my children, then that's what you'll get. Boise, Idaho, get ready.
Let's wrap up our episode about this fucker. So on Twitter, he's got over 100,000 followers, and his pinned tweet is, we process payments for small biz. In the pandemic, we added more clients than any time in our 16 years. How'd we do it? Instead of laying off employees, we kept everyone. They worked to save each other's jobs. CEOs like me don't save companies, workers do. And again, during the pandemic, he asked his employees, or they offered apparently, to take a pay cut. And it's unreal. And then Yahoo Money, July 6th, company that avoided layoffs pays back employees for voluntary salary cuts. And the average employee got about $4,300 in back pay as the company's financial situation improved. That is just madness. Now, this is, there's a photo of Dan in front of his employees, and there's balloons. They're in front of their office. And I see there are absolutely zero, maybe one African-American employee, mostly 20-something white males and females. There's a couple East Asian people, maybe, but not even. This is like, Dan is tweeting, "America is the richest country in the history of the world." Typo. It's also the second worst advanced country in the world to raise a family, behind Mexico. We have no guaranteed paid parental leave, high child care costs, high medical costs, school shootings, and that's a link to foxnews.com. United States ranks second to last for raising a family. July 24th, after the first hiring freeze in our 16-year history, I'm proud to say we're hiring again. We have at least 8 jobs open, and some can be remote permanently. Dan Price, he's a handsome man, he's young and beautiful. Dan Price is a hero and possibly a god. Dan, you gave yourself a pay cut, celebrated at your mansion and yacht with champagne. You are insane. Hypocrite, dipshit, waterboarder, hoarder. Dan Price, you're not the man you seem. Don't believe the media, it makes me scream. Can speculate about Dan Price all day long. One thing's for sure, he does not deserve a song written about him or his brother Jim or anyone for that matter. It's just chatter. The truth is out there on the internet. You find Dan, he's not the person that you thought you met. Dan is responding to a tweet that he did. FYI, Jeff Bezos has added $61.4 billion to his net worth this year. Amazon also cut the $2 an hour hero pay for its 400,000 workers, the cost of hero pay, etc. And he retweets and says, "Right now, the sole goal of most CEOs is to make as much money as possible. For me, it's to do the right thing. I've taken 0 pay this year to help ensure we have 0 layoffs. And by that measure, I feel so much more successful than getting rich." This guy is the biggest liar and hypocrite and virtue signaler in the history, not of Seattle business, but of anyone who has ever walked this planet in the entirety of human history. What a fucking asshole. All right, it's been Doomed Planet, the podcast, episode 41, Dan, Seattle Tech Villains, Dan Pay Cut Price. I wish him well. DoomedPlanet.com. Goodbye.
So I'm reducing my salary from $1 million a year to about $70,000.
So I'm reducing my salary from $1 million a year to about $70,000.